Now our aim today is to work with a pen and wash technique where I'll give you plenty of tips and tricks along the way on how to paint this lovely brimstone butterfly. Let's get started. As to the pen work, I'm going to be using the size 01, and this pen is by Pilot. There you go, drawing pen. Waterproof ink, of course. There's quite a lot of good waterproof pens out there. Now, I do like to put my hand on a piece of paper because it protects the watercolour surface. Because one thing you don't want to get is natural oils off your hands onto the watercolour sheet, because if you do that, you find any watercolour you put over the top just won't stick. It's like a wax resist. So I'm going to very carefully, first of all, just go around the outlines that I can see. Very carefully, as you can see here. I'm also putting my hand in the right direction as well. So being left-handed, I've got my hand above the picture to get that sort of curve there. If you're trying to pull against it, you find you can't get a straight line, even though it's not straight to know, but you can't get an even sort of gentle curve. You've got to use a natural curve of your hand. And then very lightly just go down the lines, like I'm doing here. Very carefully. Just gently outline it to begin with. You can see with the 01 nib, it's very fine indeed. In fact, this pen's quite old now, so the ink is starting to run out. And I like it when it starts to run out, because you get an even finer line, you really do. And then all I'm going to do is use tiny circles and squiggle marks towards the base of this branch first of all, the underside of the branch should I say really. All the way along. Gets a little bit paler down there, doesn't it? One thing you need to be careful of when you're working with pen is not to put too much on, because if you do, when you add the watercolour over the top, it will look far too dark. Now fortunately this part of the twig is very dark anyway, isn't it? You can just see a hint of green in there, but not much. Just a hint. So tiny squiggle marks, that's all I'm doing here, look, as you can see. Or can you see? Get some scrap watercolour paper, look. That'll do. All I'm doing is this. I'll over-exaggerate it a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. That sort of thing, look. So plenty of squiggles. Loads of squiggles. And that's all I'm doing on that. But much, much smaller. And you will need your best glasses on as well. You do, honestly. The idea of the pen work is that when we add the watercolours over the top, we won't then be thinking about detail. We've already got the detail on, we've already got the shape on. All we need then is a blast of colour over the top of the pen work. Then a few little taps here and there higher up as well. By doing it this way around, you get a sort of a gentle curve on that branch. Sorry, twig. So take your time with it. Have a play with that pen. And work your way around the image doing the same thing. But, there's always a but. When you get to the lightest of areas, there's a different technique you'll need to use. Like for example here. All that is, this is using the pen that sort of angle, look, okay? And you get that sort of dark line. And you would think that if you angle your pen down, the line would be just the same, wouldn't it? It's not. Even though this nib is always the same, of course. What you will get instead, it's a light skim of the paper, just caressing the paper with the side of the nib, raise it up a little bit, so it's nearly like that at the moment. I'm going to raise it up slightly, like that. And you find, eventually, remember my pen's wearing out now, you get a very pale line, see this? It's extremely pale, just by lowering down that pen that little bit, and just catching the tip of that pen, just that nib. And you get a very, very pale line. So that's what I'm doing along the top here. Just creating a very pale line just there, look. You can barely see it, I know. And you can see on that photograph it's slightly darker on this left-hand side. So you can afford to bring that pen slightly higher like that. Then darken that left-hand side down. Just by tapping and stippling and twiddling and scumbling as well. And the same will apply to the catkin. You find on the catkin there's some darker areas and some lighter areas as well. So you want to vary the height of that pen as you work your way down there. So now you know what to do. I'm going to carry on now to some music. So stay tuned, watch what I do. I will speed it up and also chop it up in places as well. Just to save you getting too bored, of course. And I'll see you again if there's something different. And also, I'll especially see you when we add those watercolours to go over the top. Don't miss it. Now, many of the sections that you can see within the catkin are like little platelets, aren't they? Not quite round, a bit wiggly, more of a sort of triangle, oval shape. And do vary in shape and size as well. Do take note that there's a little bit of gap in the middle. So allow for the gap. To outline them first of all, and they can very lightly shade them where needed, but not much. Remember what I said earlier on about going too dark and then your watercolours won't stand out. Okay, so just ease off on that shading a little bit, but just a few little details like this lot within certain areas, doesn't really matter where. Think of the way that one section will overlap another. Very tiny, I know, but you can see what I'm doing just about. When you look very carefully, you can see that this part of the butterfly is slightly darker, isn't it? So again, I'm using my pen slightly on its side, just literally catching the nib very, very lightly, just the weight of the pen, that's all I'm using. And you can add a little bit of very light shade in there. Very light. And by doing so, this will start to give it a little bit more shape before we add the colours over the top. Look around for those different sections which are slightly darker. Remember to use the lightest of touches when you do this. Just skimming the paper with the tip of the pen, that's it. Now then, colours. Do note that whilst I was mixing these colours, I made a little bit of a splash around there and just there. But hey ho, never mind. That's part of the painting process, we know that. Now then, what I'm looking at doing, first of all, is putting a little bit of dark colour on here. And I've got 4 different mixes mixed up at the moment. I'm going to mix up just one more. That's going to be a combination of olive green, that one there. All of these mixes are more or less to a watery consistency. And I think in that one, I'm going to add some burnt umber. Something like that will do. Look at that. Oh, that's a nice colour. Maybe a touch more olive green. All I want to do is very lightly coat the twig in this colour. That's it. Remember what I said earlier on. We've already done all the detail work with the use of the pen. So all you're adding on now is colour. That's it. That's all you're doing. So a little bit of green, that's all you need. And that's that area, well, done. The good thing about this as well, once it's nice and dry, you can always add some more pen work over the top again. I've also got this area here, but what I'm going to do, just put it on one side like that. Rinse that brush out, give it a semi-dry. Just dampen down the top part and then tickle that in. So it fades as it goes higher, like that. That'll do. As for the catkin, all we need for that one is this colour here, which is raw sienna. Remember, all the colour names are available on my Patreon channel, so don't forget that. And just drop it in places quite random places as well. Not in the middle though, that's slightly green in there, isn't it? A little bit. Just here and there, but not everywhere. Well, that rhymes. Just dotting it around, adding a touch of colour in there, but leaving plenty of gaps in between, as I mentioned. That's all I'm doing here, look. That one. Just a touch here and there. I want this to look varied in colour, but I don't want it all looking the same, hence leaving all them gaps in between there. And then I've got, let's go for this colour here, just remix it. I'm going to drop that one in now, again in places. It's slightly greenier towards the top, so I'm just leaving that there. And also a bit of green in between as well. So once again, just in places like I've already done. Don't overload that brush, mine was slightly overloaded then. Just to add a bit more colour around this catkin. I keep looking back and forth for that reference photograph, I keep doing that. And work your way around, leaving those gaps, and then we'll go in with the green thereafter. And if it's not enough, go over the top again with another layer. In places, of course. Some areas appear richer than others. Let's grab a green. Now this is really bright green, this one. Lemon yellow and phthalo blue. Also very watery. I'm going to tap this towards the centre area. Quite gappy. Just adds that bit of brightness in there. This is the same green we'll be using for the butterfly as well. Towards the top, around there. And before we start working on the butterfly, we've got this catkin here as well. Now I've got another colour mixed up for that one, which is this one here. Alizarin crimson and burnt umber. I'm going to add that one in, but avoiding the legs at the same time. Again, leaving gaps here and there. They don't have to be the same colours as the photograph. As long as they're similar, that's all that matters, you know. I think I'd add a drop more burnt umber into this colour as well. We don't want it looking all the same. And remember that every layer of colour you put on, the richer that colour will become. I might use some of this within the catkin down here as well. Okay, give it a quick dry and then we'll paint that brimstone. Right, it's all nice and dry. So I'm going to go in with the green now. Ooh, look at that green. Lemon yellow and phthalo blue. Quite a nice mix as well. And I know we've got this bit of a spot in the middle, so we have to make sure that we reserve that. But when you look around, I'm going to take some of this off. When you look around the top part of the wing, there's a lighter side, isn't there? So I'm going to just go in between each individual section for now. I'm trying to leave, well, the white of the paper really, for those areas showing through. And little gaps here and there as well. So when you get to these little lines, leave a gap in between. And that'll show them veins a little bit more within the wings. Now you can vary this colour as well. So every now and then get a bit of lemon yellow and pop that in just to vary it in places. So it's not all the same. Because even though it's a green butterfly, there is yellow in there. And there's also a little bit of blue in there as well, which we have got within our green, remember. So if we ever needed to, we can increase the amount of blue within that green in places. Or make a separate mix-up, which is slightly bluer than this green one. Leave a gap for the next wing. A slight gap there, you can just about make it out, can't you? Then work between those sections again, adding a touch more yellow in where it's needed. Now darken this a little bit more by adding a touch more blue. And this can be introduced where we can see some shaded areas. First where you got the veins around those. Just a few here and there. I'm trying to not overdo it really, because it's very easy to get carried away, isn't it? If I get some more blue a minute, just a touch more, and we can try just to see what happens when I just tap in a little bit of that around there. Just to darken it slightly. Yeah, it's not too bad. If it doesn't work, add some more yellow to it. Just playing with those colours as you're working your way around it. That's all I'm doing here. And then paint in those antennas. And don't forget that part of the face as well. Now if you fancy having a go at another pen and wash painting, have a look at the link to the top right hand corner of the screen. I'll see you there. Yeah, that should do.